Welcome back. America first. Yeah, right. You remember the ABC 7 at 7 exclusive, Disney laying off its IT workers and telling them if they want their severance, they have to train their foreign replacements? Donald Trump, running for president, was outraged. Senator Bill Nelson promised legislation cracking down on H-1B visas, which allows big companies to ship in foreign workers. 2 years later, nothing. And the workers and their Sarasota attorney are being forced to give up the fight. And joining us for more are attorney Sarah Blackwell and former Disney IT worker Leo Pereiro. FYI, we called the White House today and we emailed them for comment on this story, but we never heard back. And Sarah, let me first by asking you, how disappointed are you in President Trump, in Bill Nelson? I mean, you went to these rallies, as you said earlier, and you told people to vote for Donald Trump based upon his willingness to join this cause.
Well, I'm extremely disappointed, to the point of, crying to sleep, kind of disappointed. But, the message of this lawsuit was to let America know everybody was so outraged when they saw what Disney did. But all these lawsuits show this is legal. You can't win a lawsuit against them because this is a legal way of doing business. And if you're outraged, then you need to do something about it. And that's what President Trump spoke to, the millions and millions of Americans who are actually suffering and have suffered from this, and even foreigners who have suffered from this business model. He spoke to them and he said, I'm not going to change, I'm not going to let this occur. He said, what happened to Disney will never happen again. Leo Pereiro, who's with us, and Dina Moore and I, we spoke at the rallies. He said, he encouraged us and said that this is something that he's going to do away with, and the crowds went wild, and we really endorsed him throughout the whole time, thinking he was going to make these changes.
So what happened?
Well, he has done a couple of things. I do give him credit for a couple of things, but he hasn't done, he said the lottery system of the H-1B is bad, which it is. Let's do a merit-based system, but he's never done that. He has the authority, but he hasn't done it. He said we're not going to allow American workers to be replaced. He hasn't done that. He said in Buy American, Hire American, we're going to start enforcing the laws and stopping abuse and fraud, which is great. But then he appointed to Department of Homeland Security an Indian lobbyist who is pro-growing all these H-1Bs. So he's not done anything that he said he was going to do. And the worst part is, after he was elected, he met with the billionaire tech workers and all of the businesses that benefit from it. He met with India Prime Minister Modi, who benefits from it. He met with Indian lobbyists in Mar-a-Lago who benefit from it, and he has denied any request to speak to any of the American workers that were on 60 Minutes that have been begging for him to listen to the reality and truth of what's going on.
Leo, we've been on the trail with you for 2 years since the story first came up. What have you done in the interim? How disappointed have you been that since the presidential campaign, when this got a lot of publicity, not much of anything has been done?
Well, extremely disappointed, because this is one of the premier companies in our country, and if they set the precedent that this business model works, why would more people also follow it? So extremely disappointing to see the results from one of the most iconic companies in our country to do this, and just, in a sense, give the ability to more people out there, more companies out there to do the same thing.
If there's one thing that you could say to President Trump, Bill Nelson, and Marco Rubio, who really didn't do much of anything, what would that be?
There are huge, huge loopholes in this visa program that really need to get fixed. We have so many terrible stories from families being destroyed and lives changing for the worse. It really needs attention very quickly, and it can't continue to just be another debate that goes no place.
All right, we want to take a quick break right now, but before we do, we want to share with you what some of you had to say about the news which broke last night on this show. and in terms of what we're in the middle of talking about, the lawsuit against Disney being dropped. IT workers that worked at Disney were told that they were going to be replaced by foreign workers and they were going to have to train them. We went to Facebook for your thoughts on the workers and their lawsuit, and that they have been forced to drop their case. Tony says, get rid of the HB1 visa program and come up with something that doesn't punish Americans. And Sam says, all this time and wasted effort, and now they realize it was legal and they have no case. I hope the attorney behind this didn't get paid anything for jerking these people around for 3 years. Okay, Sam, I hope you're watching. You're the guy who often leads us the comments about making America great again. We read them, yeah. But when push comes to shove, you would rather take a shot at a lawyer actually doing something to defend American workers. America first. That's a catchy slogan, don't you think? If you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast.com.abc7. We are just getting warmed up, and we'll have Sarah and Leo respond to that comment in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. We're talking about protecting American jobs and whether President Trump and others turn their backs on Florida workers they promised to help. And joining us for more are attorney Sarah Blackwell and former Disney IT worker Leah Perrero. And Sarah, let me give you a chance to respond to Sam.
Sam?
Who, you know, like a lot of people, went to those rallies, heard you speak, heard the IT workers speak, and cheered when candidate Donald Trump said that he was going to do something about this. He says, you know, you should have known it was a waste of time and it was perfectly legal. The joke's on you.
Yes, well, I mean, my clients knew going into it the risks and what we were trying to do. They never paid a penny, obviously. And we, as an American who's trying to fight for America and American workers, first and foremost, and then protecting foreigners from American business owners that are exploiting them, I get calls every day, emails every day for the last 2 years from foreigners and Americans alike, and I never get paid for any of those calls. They think of me as a leader of this movement, and I'm their only hope. And so I can't just do rallies and just do protests or just do television. I had to try everything in the legal arena as well to try to find something we can do. And I was the only one, and I'm still the only one who's willing to do that, and I don't get paid anything for any of it. So to say that, you know, he's disappointed in me, I'm disappointed in me too. I wish there was some way I could fix this.
Believe me, this is not on you. But let me ask you also, we talked about President Trump and Bill Nelson, who said that he was going to do things in Congress. Marco Rubio was never there in the first place, was he?
Marco Rubio, I called him Rob Your Job Rubio during the campaign because he was always a backer of I squared. I mean, he was a backer of let's increase. We need more and more of these visas because we just don't have enough American workers to fill these jobs, while literally millions of Americans are calling saying, I'm getting fired, I'm replacing my foreigner, I'm training my foreign replacement. And so I would have never voted for him. I've never supported him in any way.
Leo, I remember when we first did this story 2 years ago, it exploded. It went viral, from the Drudge Report to Fox News to every television network to every newspaper in America. But I can't help but notice when you all had that news conference yesterday, it was picked up by some of the Orlando TV stations and us, article here and there, but not much more than that.
Well, yes, very disappointing for all the work that Sarah's put into this, pro bono, without any fees being taken by her whatsoever. You know, so much of our own free time and energy put into this. And the iconic American company doing this, we were sure that this would be definitely the event that would change it. And with the Trump rallies that we went to and helped with, just completely surprising about the lack of results about that, and also, yes, about the lack of recent threats as well with yesterday's announcement.
So for all the talk that we have had in this country the last few years about losing American jobs overseas, I mean, that's one thing. But to bring in foreigners to take American jobs here at home, and for, in the end, nothing to be done and the public to, going on to other things. I hate to put it this way, but how does that make you feel about your fellow Americans?
It's disheartening that it seems that greed has taken over, that people don't care as much as they do about their neighbors and fellow Americans as they possibly could, and that other things are more interesting than these real issues that we have in front of us. Very, very disappointing, and I look at it as a patriotic thing to do to prevent other Americans from going through this. I don't expect any money out of it. I just don't want it to happen to other people.
Well, Leo, the good news is the economy is doing well now. All these corporations, including Disney, just got a fantastic tax cut. So I would imagine that they would, you looking for these IT jobs and your former colleagues would have an easy time finding new work that may even be better paying. Has that been the case?
Well, yesterday we had all three people in the room that were, willing to speak out, but most aren't because they're scared of retribution. They're scared of not finding the next job. And two out of the three were no longer in the same field, I being one of them. And the third one that was there has significant some challenges with his mental health now because of it. And believe it or not, one person that was on my team passed away about a week and a half after the layoff occurred. Now, can I say that 100% is because of the layoff? Was it a coincidence? I'm not sure, but I know that it contributed somewhat to that.
Sarah, what happened on the inside? I know that since we first broke this story, and since the president was elected, you did have conversation with folks in the White House about pushing this along and getting something done. What would they tell you?
Well, Stephen Miller is working in the White House. He really knows what the business model is. He's very smart on that issue. And I know he's still there. He hasn't been one of the many that have lost their jobs in the White House. And I know that he is still pioneering for this issue. I just don't think he's being heard. I think the problem is that, Trump is listening to all of those billionaires and the Prime Minister Modi, and he's not remembering those who voted for him and the American worker stories. Because if you, Forward.us is Bob Iger and Facebook and all, and Ginny Rometty, she's another one of IBM. They get the tax cuts, and that should trickle down to the employees, but it doesn't. They're getting huge bonuses, and the difference between what we're getting paid as an American people and what those billionaires are getting paid keeps getting bigger and bigger. And it's because they are cutting costs when it comes to labor and not letting the people of America see that tax cut and that raise. So Trump just needs to stop and listen to the people who voted for him. And Leo's right. I get so many people who want to tell me their story, but they're so afraid to speak out. There are millions of people that are affected, but they will not speak out because they are blackballed. I've watched it happen. So they don't speak out, but they're speaking with their vote. And they spoke with their vote when they voted for Trump, and they're going to speak with their vote again in the future.
I did want to ask you about one other area, and of course people who are watching this right now will recall that you are the attorney who is also helping the former cheerleaders who believe that they were discriminated in the NFL. Mm-hmm. You gave the NFL a deadline in terms of responding to your request for a meeting, and you would drop or settle the case for a dollar. What's the latest on that?
Well, I gave a settlement demand that we would drop the claims and anything we had against the NFL for $1 based on both of my clients if they agreed to certain terms. We gave them 10 days to respond, not agree, respond. And it ended at 5 o'clock on Friday. At 3 o'clock on Friday, I got a letter from the attorney, Stephen Hurd, who represents the NFL. And it was very, very nice. It said, we don't accept your settlement because we don't think we're liable for anything, but we will talk to you. And since then, we've had telephone conferences and email exchanges, and I really believe that the NFL, through this attorney, has a good faith effort to try to make this better. They are the umbrella over all of the teams, and the teams sometimes outsource the cheerleading, but they are the best. They are in the best position to really make change, and I really, really think that they are coming to the table, knowing that I have unique information from all the cheerleaders that have contacted me, and I have an employment background, and I honestly have this idea in my head that the NFL could be that example of what a company should do when they're faced with this kind of Me Too movement issue.
So do you have a time and place for a meeting? Do you believe you will get one? And do you believe in the end the NFL will apply that kind of pressure to the teams?
Well, first of all, they didn't make us settle, so we still have all our claims we can bring against them if they're just jacking us around. You know, that's fine. But I've been in contact with them enough that I really don't believe they're going to put me off. There's no deadline at this point. And the lawsuits I would bring against them have no deadline where I'm up against the wall. But remember, we still have the claims against the teams, and that's a really strong claim for both my clients, and we did not offer to settle that ever.
And we will stay tuned. Sarah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. We want to thank our guest tonight, attorney Sarah Blackwell and former Disney IT worker Leo Pereiro. When we return, USF Sarasota Manatee economics instructor Michael Snipes will join us to explain the difference between the gross domestic product and the gross national product. Riveting. Stay with us.